The research station floated silently above the glowing, bioluminescent surface of the planet Zareth. Its lights blinked faintly in the darkness of space, reflecting the vastness of the galaxy around it. The station was designed for study, observation, and connection, mostly with alien species whose minds were far older and more structured than humans. Yet today, a human would step into its halls, a human whose mind might change everything. Doctor. Ilara Miles adjusted the strap of her suit as she passed through the airlock. Her heart raced, not with fear but with excitement. She had trained her whole life for this moment. She was the first human xenobiologist allowed to participate in the neural interface program, a chance to connect her mind directly to the alien species called the Lithari. They were fragile in body, yet towering in intellect, and had never encountered a human in such a setting before. The hallway was quiet except for the faint hum of the station's life support systems. Soft lights glowed along the walls, illuminating panels and screens that monitored the activity of every being on the station. Ilara paused for a moment, taking it all in. The bioluminescent planet below pulsed with colors she had never seen before. She had studied alien worlds for decades, but seeing one in person was different. It felt alive. "Welcome, Dr. Miles," a voice called. It was smooth, melodic, and slightly foreign. A Lithari emerged from the shadows. Its skin shimmered in a soft silver hue, and its eyes reflected a deep intelligence. "We are honored to have you. The session will begin shortly." Ilara nodded, smiling. "Thank you. I am honored to be here." The Lithari led her through the station, past laboratories and observation decks filled with technology that defied human imagination. Devices floated in midair, holographic panels displayed streams of data in real time, and strange patterns shifted across walls as if the station itself were alive. Every step Ilara took made her heart beat faster. She could feel the weight of history, the centuries of knowledge, the careful observation, and the countless minds that had contributed to this moment. Finally, they reached the neural chamber. It was a large room, circular and glowing faintly from hidden light sources. In the center lay a sleek platform surrounded by crystalline structures, each one pulsating gently. This was where the neural interface would happen. The Lithari had developed it over decades, perfecting a system that could connect minds across species. And now Ilara's human mind would become part of it. "Please lie down, Dr. Miles," the Lithari said. Its voice was calm but firm. "The connection will begin once your neural patterns are scanned." Ilara took a deep breath and lay on the platform. It was surprisingly comfortable, molded to the shape of her body. Tiny tendrils of light hovered near her temples, scanning and mapping her brain activity. She felt a tingle in her mind as the system synchronized with her thoughts. It was strange but not painful. "Your neural structure is unusual," the Lithari whispered to one another. Ilara could not understand the words, but the tone was unmistakable, curiosity mixed with astonishment. The scanning finished, and a gentle pulse of light enveloped her head. Suddenly, the chamber seemed to dissolve. She was no longer in a room, but in a space of shifting colors, patterns, and shapes that defied her understanding. It was as if she were inside the Lithari's collective consciousness. At first, the thoughts were strange and alien. They were orderly, precise, and devoid of unnecessary emotion. She could feel centuries of knowledge, endless calculations, and profound insights streaming into her mind. It was overwhelming, but she was ready. Humans were not as controlled or disciplined as the Lithari, but they had something else, something unpredictable. And that unpredictability began to shine immediately. Her mind reacted to the alien thoughts not with rigid logic, but with curiosity, imagination, and emotion. She saw connections that the Lithari could not. She imagined possibilities that did not exist yet. Ideas formed in bursts of color and light spreading across the network like fire. One Lithari stepped closer, eyes wide. "It is too much," it whispered. Ilara did not understand at first. The neural interface amplified all perceptions. She could see the network, feel its structure, and sense the observers watching her. And indeed, the Lithari were astonished. The human mind was unlike anything they had ever seen. It was chaotic, emotional, and yet incredibly powerful. The thought struck her. Humans were small in numbers, fragile in body, but their minds were wild, creative, and strong in ways the Lithari could not measure. She smiled slightly, realizing that what she had always believed, that humans were capable of greatness, was now undeniable. The session continued. Alara's mind moved through the network with grace, linking patterns, solving puzzles, and interpreting knowledge in new ways. The Lithari watched in awe, some hiding their faces in disbelief. They had studied countless species, yet none had ever approached this level of complexity. Hours passed in minutes. Time felt different inside the network. Alara encountered streams of alien memories, moments of discovery, triumph, and failure from the Lithari collective. She felt empathy, understanding, and even joy as she connected with minds so different from her own. Yet there was also tension. Some Lithari were wary of her influence, unsure whether the human mind would overwhelm their careful structure. But Alara was careful. She moved gently, respecting the network while testing its boundaries. Her curiosity guided her, and her imagination expanded the collective in ways the Lithari had not imagined possible. She began to see the universe differently, not just as a scientist, but as a participant in a living, breathing network of knowledge. Suddenly, a bright surge of light enveloped the network. The Lithari observers gasped, stepping back. The human mind, they realized, was not just absorbing information, it was reshaping it. Alara's thoughts were not chaotic in a destructive sense, but creative, expanding the possibilities of the network exponentially. One of the Lithari whispered, almost in awe, "Human, it is too much." Alara felt a thrill. That phrase, though alien in origin, resonated in her mind. She understood that she was breaking boundaries, not for the sake of power, but for understanding, exploration, and connection. She felt a sense of responsibility. Humans might be new to the galaxy, but their potential was limitless. The network pulsed, responding to her presence. Colors shifted, streams of thought interwove in patterns previously unseen. Alara realized that she was no longer just a participant. She was a bridge between species, a living testament to what humans could achieve when their curiosity and creativity were fully unleashed. Despite the intensity, she felt calm. Her training had prepared her for this, but even more, she relied on something uniquely human, intuition. Where the Lithari relied on pure logic, she allowed emotion and imagination to guide her. And in doing so, she discovered solutions to problems the aliens had studied for centuries. Finally, the session began to wind down. The network slowly released her consciousness, bringing her back to the physical platform. The colors faded, the shapes dissolved, and she opened her eyes. She was back in the neural chamber, breathing heavily, her mind still buzzing with the experience. The Lithari stood around her, silent for a moment. Then one approached and bowed slightly. "You have changed the network," it said softly. "You are unlike any being we have ever known. We did not expect this. You are too much human, but perhaps this is what we needed." Alara smiled, exhausted but exhilarated. "I only wanted to understand," she said. "And perhaps to show that humans can reach farther than anyone expects." The Lithari looked at her thoughtfully. They had expected a human to be fragile, limited, and unremarkable. Instead, they had witnessed creativity, resilience, and intelligence that defied their calculations. Alara realized that this was only the beginning. Humans had always been underestimated in the galaxy, but moments like this proved that they could achieve greatness beyond imagination. As she stepped off the platform, she felt a sense of purpose. The session had been more than a test, it had been a revelation. Humans were not just observers of the universe. They were participants, creators, and connectors. And if she could bring this understanding to the Lithari and beyond, perhaps humanity's place in the galaxy would finally be recognized. Alara walked toward the observation deck, her mind still alive with ideas. She looked out at the glowing planet below, its colors shifting in mesmerizing patterns. She felt hope, excitement, and determination. The journey ahead would be challenging, but she knew one thing: humans were capable of more than anyone had ever believed. And somewhere in the silent hum of the station, a Lithari whispered again, almost reverently, "It is too much." Alara smiled to herself. Let them see. Humanity had only begun. Alara awoke on the platform with a strange feeling. The neural chamber had returned her body to the ordinary world, but her mind was still alive with the echoes of the network. She could feel the Lithari's attention, their silent observation, their awe and fear mixed together. She knew this was only the beginning. A Lithari approached her, its silver skin glinting softly in the chamber's light. "Doctor." "Miles," it said, voice careful, "we have never witnessed anything like this. Your presence, it changes the network." Alara nodded slowly. "I understand." but I feel as if I have only touched the surface. She could still see patterns in her mind, connections that had never existed before. I want to explore further. I want to understand the network completely. The Lithari exchanged glances. There was hesitation, caution, but also curiosity. Very well, one said finally. We will allow it, but you must proceed carefully. The network is not meant to be altered so quickly. Alara smiled faintly. I will be careful. The chamber's lights shifted as she lay down again, and the tendrils of light hovered around her temples. This time, the sensation was more intense. She felt herself lifted, not physically but mentally, as the network welcomed her into its vast expanse. Colors, shapes, and streams of thought swirled around her. But now it was deeper. She was not just a visitor, she was part of the neural structure itself. The Lithari had built the network to connect minds, but it was designed for their own kind, disciplined, logical, and highly organized. Humans were different. Alara's mind was fluid, flexible, and unpredictable. She could see patterns, yes, but also possibilities. She could feel the collective thoughts of centuries, and she could weave them into something new. At first, the Lithari tried to guide her. They projected puzzles, questions, and challenges from their own research, hoping she would respond in controlled ways. But Alara did not respond as expected. Her mind jumped across ideas, creating links that were unexpected, combining solutions from different fields and perspectives. One of the Lithari elders whispered in awe, almost afraid, "It is too much. One human cannot hold this." Alara felt a surge of power, not power in the sense of dominance, but the strength of connection. She was learning, contributing, and expanding the network. She could feel the collective knowledge of the Lithari reacting to her presence, growing in ways they could not control. She explored first the scientific archives. The Lithari had studied the physics of stars, the chemical structure of alien planets, and the evolution of life across galaxies. Alara moved through the information like a fish through water. She noticed connections the Lithari had not, how one star's behavior affected the evolution of life on distant planets, how small chemical variations led to significant changes in ecosystems, how emotion and intuition could guide scientific insight in ways pure logic could not. The Lithari observed her, some whispering nervously. The human mind is unpredictable, one said. It does not follow rules, yet it improves the network. How can this be? Alara smiled to herself. That was exactly what she wanted them to see. Humans were not perfect. They made mistakes, they were emotional, they questioned everything. But in their questioning, in their imagination, they could reach places that the most advanced logic could not. Time passed differently inside the network. Hours, minutes, or perhaps days, she could not tell. She wandered through memories, histories, and simulations. She could feel the Lithari's emotions, subtle though they were, and she could sense their pride and fear. They had expected a fragile mind, limited and controllable. Instead, they found a mind that was strong, creative, and alive in ways they had never imagined. Then she found the challenge they had not warned her about, the memory core. It was a place of immense concentration, where the collective consciousness of the Lithari was stored in its purest form. The core contained knowledge centuries old, memories of entire civilizations, and calculations that shaped the network itself. Alara hesitated. She could feel the magnitude of what she was about to touch. The Lithari had built safeguards, expecting minds to interact cautiously, carefully, but humans did not work that way. She took a deep breath and reached into the core. Instantly, her mind expanded. She could feel every memory, every thought, every calculation. It was overwhelming, yet exhilarating. She could see the universe through Lithari eyes, planets forming, civilizations rising, stars dying. She could feel the logic of a species that had lived for millennia, yet her own thoughts added colors, emotions, and unpredictability. The core reacted. Patterns shifted, evolved, and expanded in response to her mind. Ideas formed that had never existed, solutions to problems the Lithari had studied for centuries. Alara realized she was not just observing, she was creating, reshaping, enhancing. Some of the Lithari watched silently, others whispered nervously. "It is too much," one murmured. "The human is beyond comprehension." Alara paused, realizing the truth of it. Humans were underestimated in the galaxy, always judged by physical strength, numbers, or logic. Yet the true power of humanity lay in their creativity, their emotion, and their ability to think differently. Here in the neural network, she had proved it. She continued, gently shaping connections, guiding flows of knowledge, and linking ideas in ways no Lithari mind could. She could see the ripple effects across the network. The core itself seemed to hum with new energy, alive and vibrant because of her presence. But with great understanding came responsibility. She could feel the network straining in places, some nodes flickering, unstable. She realized that the Lithari had built it with careful balance, expecting minds to be disciplined and orderly. She was a human, unpredictable, powerful, and sometimes reckless. Alara decided to act carefully. She adjusted the flow of ideas, allowing the network to expand safely, integrating her thoughts without overwhelming it. She realized that human minds had a special advantage, the ability to feel, to imagine, and to intuit solutions that rigid logic could not provide. Hours passed in what felt like moments. Alara had traversed centuries of knowledge, explored the universe through alien eyes, and left her mark on the network. The Lithari watched, awestruck and humbled. They had studied countless species, yet none had ever changed the core in this way. Finally, she withdrew slightly, letting the network settle. Colors faded, patterns slowed, and the hum of energy returned to a gentle pulse. She opened her eyes, still inside the network, still connected, but aware of the reality around her. One of the Lithari elders approached, its voice quiet and reverent. "Dr. Miles, you have done something no other being could. You have not only learned, but you have improved us. You are too much human, but perhaps this is the gift we did not know we needed." Alara smiled, feeling a mix of exhaustion and exhilaration. She had entered the network to learn, to understand, and to connect. Yet in doing so, she had shown that humans were not weak or limited. They were vibrant, unpredictable, and capable of greatness beyond measure. She realized something profound. This was more than science. It was a revelation. The galaxy had judged humans for their physical limitations and short histories. But the true strength of humanity lay in its mind, its creativity, and its courage to explore the unknown. Alara moved through the network one last time, touching memories, linking ideas, and leaving a trace of human thought in every node she could reach. She saw the Lithari react, not with fear but with curiosity and respect. They had underestimated humans, as all species did, yet here was undeniable proof of their potential. As the session began to end, Alara felt a strange warmth. The network had accepted her, integrated her, and even celebrated her presence. She was no longer just a visitor, she was part of it. She understood the Lithari in ways few could, and she had shown them what a human mind could do. When she finally disconnected, the chamber felt quiet. The glowing crystals dimmed, and the room returned to normal. Alara sat up slowly, breathing deeply. Her mind was still buzzing, alive with the energy of the network. She could feel the Lithari's admiration, respect, and curiosity. One of them spoke, softly but firmly. "Dr. Miles, you are unlike any being we have encountered. Your mind, it is beyond our calculations. Humans may be young, fragile, and untested, yet you have shown us something extraordinary. We did not expect this." Alara nodded, understanding the weight of her presence. She had entered as a student, a scientist seeking knowledge, but she had emerged as a teacher, a bridge between species, and a reminder that humans were not to be underestimated. She left the neural chamber, her steps light but purposeful. The Lithari watched her go, still whispering in awe. "It is too much," they said again. Alara looked out over the bioluminescent planet below, feeling the thrill of discovery and the weight of responsibility. The galaxy was vast, full of mysteries and civilizations older and wiser than her own, yet humanity had a role defined not by strength, but by imagination, curiosity, and the courage to explore beyond the known. And in that moment, she knew this was only the beginning. Humans would continue to surprise, to create, and to reach farther than anyone had imagined. And the Lithari, who had once seen humans as fragile observers, now understood that they were something else entirely, unpredictable, brilliant, and unstoppable. Alara smiled to herself, her mind alive with ideas, her heart full of determination. She had entered the network to learn, but she had also shown the galaxy what it meant to be human. And that revelation, she knew, would echo far beyond the station, far beyond the planet, far beyond even her own imagination. Alara awoke in her quarters aboard the Lithari research station. Her body was tired, but her mind was still alive with the memory of the neural network. The experience had changed her in ways she could not yet fully understand. She had touched centuries of alien knowledge, reshaped it with her human mind, and left an imprint that would last for generations. Stepping into the observation deck, she looked out over the glowing surface of Zareth. The colors of the planet pulsed like a living heartbeat, and she could not help but feel a connection to it, a reminder of the vastness of the galaxy and humanity's place within it. Humans were young, fragile, and often underestimated, but she now carried proof that their minds were powerful, creative, and capable of more than anyone had imagined. The Lithari approached her. Their silver skin shimmered softly in the light of the observation deck, and their eyes held a new kind of respect. "Dr. Miles," one said, voice gentle yet firm, "the network, it has changed. Because of you, we see new possibilities. We see humans differently." Alara nodded. "That was never my goal," she said softly. "I only wanted to learn, but perhaps learning together is how we grow, and maybe humans have something unique to offer the galaxy." The Lithari studied her for a moment, then another spoke. "We believed humans to be fragile, limited. But your mind, it is resilient, creative, and bold. We have underestimated you. Perhaps it is time we reconsider the role of your species." Alara smiled faintly. "The galaxy has underestimated humans before, but we are not weak. We are curious, creative, and willing to take risks others will not. That is our strength." Over the next days, she worked closely with the Lithari, bridging human ideas and alien knowledge. They discussed science, technology, philosophy, and even art. Alara's human perspective added a new dimension to their research. She proposed experiments that combined logic with intuition, technology with imagination. Slowly, the Lithari began to see the potential of collaboration in a way they had never considered. One of the elders said quietly, "Your human mind is unpredictable yet brilliant. You see patterns we cannot. Perhaps this is how species evolve, how civilizations grow, not through strength alone, but through creativity and connection." Alara nodded, understanding that she had become more than a scientist. She was now a bridge between two civilizations, a living example of humanity's potential. Soon, she realized that her influence extended beyond the station. The neural network had begun to adapt to her presence, and the knowledge she had shared rippled outward. Ideas she introduced to the network sparked innovations, discoveries, and solutions that the Lithari had thought impossible. They began to create technologies that combined human creativity with their advanced systems, solving problems that had stumped them for centuries. Alara also noticed changes within herself. The experience had sharpened her intuition, expanded her understanding, and strengthened her resolve. She could think faster, see patterns more clearly, and connect ideas across disciplines in ways that were almost instinctive. Her mind had grown not just through learning, but through interaction, collaboration, and the exchange of ideas with the Lithari. One afternoon, as she stood on the observation deck, a younger Lithari approached her. "Doctor." "Miles," it said, voice hesitant, "your species, it is unlike anything we imagined. Humans are fragile, yet your mind, it is unstoppable. How do you do it?" Alara laughed softly. "We are flawed, yes, we make mistakes, but we also imagine, dream, and question. We refuse to accept limits when we can explore beyond them. That is what makes us strong." The Lithari looked at her in silence, processing her words. Slowly, they began to understand. Strength was not only in knowledge, order, or discipline. Strength could also be in creativity, resilience, and the courage to venture into the unknown. Humans embodied all of these qualities in ways the galaxy had yet to recognize. As the weeks passed, the collaboration between humans and Lithari deepened. They worked together to map unexplored regions of the galaxy, develop new energy systems, and even study forms of life previously unknown. The network became a shared space where human and alien minds could meet, learn, and create together. Alara saw that her species had a role far greater than she had ever imagined. Humans were not just survivors, they were innovators, explorers, and connectors. In her presence, the Lithari began to see the galaxy differently. They began to trust human intuition, value human creativity, and respect human courage. Then came the day of the council meeting. The Lithari leaders had convened to discuss the future of human involvement in their projects. Alara was invited to speak. She felt a mixture of pride and responsibility. She knew this moment could define humanity's role in the galaxy for centuries to come. Standing before the council, she spoke simply, but with conviction. "Humans are often underestimated," she said. We are flawed, emotional, and unpredictable. But we are also creative, resilient, and determined. We question, imagine, and explore. That is our greatest strength. If you allow humans to contribute, to learn, and to collaborate, together we can achieve far more than any species could alone. The council listened in silence. One elder finally spoke, voice deep and thoughtful. We have seen your mind at work, Dr. Miles. We have observed your species through your actions, and now we understand. Humans are not fragile, they are powerful in ways we cannot calculate. They are unpredictable, yet brilliant. Perhaps this is the future we have been waiting for. Alara felt a surge of hope. This was more than recognition. It was validation, not just for herself, but for all of humanity. Humans had been underestimated for centuries, but now they had a place among the stars, not as minor players, but as innovators, thinkers, and creators. In the following months, humans began to work more closely with the Lithari. They exchanged knowledge, shared technology, and developed new ways of thinking together. Alara continued to guide the collaboration, bridging the gap between species and ensuring that human creativity could thrive alongside Lithari logic. One evening, as she stood on the observation deck, a Lithari approached her quietly. "Doctor." "Miles," it said, voice filled with awe, "we once believed humans to be fragile observers. Now we see they are a force of nature. Your presence has changed us and perhaps the galaxy itself." Alara smiled, looking out at the glowing planet below. "The galaxy has always been vast and full of wonders," she said softly. "Humans are just beginning to reach for them. We may be small, but our minds are limitless, and together there is nothing we cannot achieve." The Lithari nodded, a silent acknowledgement of understanding. They had once doubted humanity. Now they were inspired, and Alara knew that this was only the beginning. The galaxy was vast, full of mysteries, challenges, and opportunities. Humans were ready. They were creative, resilient, and unstoppable. As she watched the bioluminescent surface of Zareth, she felt a sense of peace and purpose. The journey had been extraordinary, but the real adventure was only beginning. Humanity had proven its potential, and now it was time to show the galaxy what it could do. Alara turned to leave the observation deck, her mind alive with ideas, her heart full of determination. She knew that humans would continue to explore, innovate, and inspire. They would take their place among the stars, not as fragile observers, but as brilliant creators, thinkers, and explorers. And somewhere in the quiet hum of the station, a Lithari whispered again, almost reverently, "It is too much." Alara smiled to herself. Let them see. Humanity had only begun. She took one last look at the glowing planet, feeling the weight of history and the promise of the future. The galaxy was vast, but humans had found their place within it. Their minds were limitless, their creativity boundless, and their courage unmatched. The Lithari had learned to respect them, and the universe had learned to take notice. And in that realization, Alara felt the true power of being human, not in strength, not in numbers, but in imagination, connection, and the endless pursuit of knowledge. Humanity was a force to be reckoned with, and the stars themselves would bear witness to their rise. The future was bright, the galaxy full of possibilities, and humanity unstoppable.